Good day everyone. Again, this is Sir Phil and this is Sir Phil's channel. Today in this video, we're going to talk about how to solve real-life based problems involving quadratic equations and rational algebraic equations. I'm going to introduce to you different types of word problems that involves quadratic equations. So our objective for this lesson is to understand word problems involving quadratic equations and rational algebraic equations. The other thing is we're going to recall on how to translate a verbal phrase to a mathematical phrase and then use the appropriate method in solving quadratic equations. The step-by-step process later I'm going to discuss. And then we need to realize the role of systematic planning in solving problems. Okay, so let's go over first with the translation of verbal phrases into a mathematical phrases. So I have here some examples of those verbal phrases that we're going to translate into a mathematical phrase. So let's start the first one. So let's recall on how to do this. The ratio of x and 4 subtracted from 13. So we have the ratio of x and 4 here. So may I have this pen? Okay, so the ratio of x and 4 can be represented as x over 4 or a fraction. And this will be subtracted from 13. So we can translate it as 13 minus x over 4. Since the ratio of x over 4 is subtracted from 13. So that is 13 minus x over 4. Let's have the next one. 8 less than thrice the quotient of r and a number s. So we're going to talking about here the condition given for the quotient of r and s, which is 8 less than thrice. Okay, so let's have first the thrice can be represented as 3. Then thrice the quotient of r and s. 8 less, so that will be minus 8. That's it. So that's how we translate it into a mathematical phrase. How about the next one? The sum of twice a number r and 8. The sum. So this is addition. So the sum of twice a number r. So twice a number r plus 8. So that is the sum. Okay, can you try the fourth one? The ratio of a number f and 6 increased by 2. Okay, let's wait for your answers. Again, the ratio of a number f and 6 increased by 2. Okay, so we're talking about ratio here of number f and 6. So that is f over 6. Increase, that is addition by 2. Okay, how about the next one? The certain number k decreased by 2. So we're just talking about the variable k here. Decreased by 2. So that is k minus 2. Okay, let's have more. Okay, I have here 1 less than the product of 4 and a. So that is the product 4 and a. So we can represent it as 4a, which is 1 less. So less, that is subtraction. So 4a minus 1. Okay, try the next one. The product of 8 and the difference of n and 3. The product of 8 and the difference of n and 3. Okay, let's wait for your answers. Okay, so let's try. So that is the product of 8 and the difference of n and 3. So that's how we translate it. How about the next one? The sum of 9 and the quotient of x and 7. So we're just going to add 9 and the quotient of x and 7. So we can represent it as this, a rational expression. So 9 plus x over 7. Next, the square of the sum of y and 5. So we are talking about the sum of y and 5. And we have a condition here that it is a square. So we can put square here. So the square of the sum of y and 5. So that's how we translate it. Okay, try the last one. Okay. 17 more than the ratio of h and square of g. Okay, wait for your answer. 17 more than the ratio of h and square of g. Okay, so let's see. 17 more. So we're going to add 17 to the ratio of h and the square of g. So that is h over g squared plus 17. So that's how we represent these phrases into mathematical phrase. Okay, so done with the recall. So let us now proceed with the problem solving part of this lesson. So we're going to follow 4 steps in solving real life problems so that we will have an organized plan on how to solve the problems involving quadratic equations. So we're going to use 4 steps. First is read and understand the problem. And then next is to devise a plan on how to solve the problem. And then carry out a plan and then look back to check if the solutions are correct. Okay, so let's go over with the discussion of each step. So step 1, read and understand the problem. So we're going to identify here what is given and what is unknown. So from the problem, kukunin natin yung mga given doon and kung ano yung hinahanap doon sa particular problem. So mamaya i-apply natin yan. Translate it into algebra using a variable such as this one for the unknown quantity. Or any variable naman pwede nating gamitin for the unknown quantity. Be sure to define what the variable represents and include units if appropriate. So any variable naman, any letters naman can be used to represent a particular quantity. So express the other unknowns if there is any in terms of the variable chosen in the first unknown quantity. You may also use diagrams if possible to illustrate the problem and to make the problem more organized. So that is step 1. We have the good planning in solving problems involving quadratic equation. So next is step 2. We are here to devise a plan. So in this case, we're going to write an equation to represent the following between the given and the unknown. So most probably, makakapag-generate tayo dito ng mga quadratic equations. Pero dahil nga hindi agad natin makikita that it is a quadratic equation. So we're going to apply our skills and knowledge in transforming equations into a quadratic equation. So that is step 2. Kapag may equation na, madali na natin yang masasolve using any method in solving quadratic equation by any method. We can use factoring, completing the square, or quadratic formula. Step 3, we're going to carry out the plan. So we're going to solve the equation for the unknown, most probably x sub 1 and x sub 2. And the solution to find the quantities being asked. And then examine the solution carefully to see if they are acceptable. So most probably, dahil we are talking about real life based situation here, especially when we are talking about measurement, titingnan natin kasi di ba may mga nakukuha tayong negative values sa value ng x sub 1 and x sub 2. So kapag pinag-uusapan natin ng measurement, please take note that i-accept lang natin yung mga positive values. So, yung negative values kapag measurement, hindi natin pwedeng kunin as one of the solution. So, ang kukunin lang natin kapag real life base ay yung mga positive solutions. And finally, for step 4, look back. In this part, we're just going to check the solution with our original statement using the substitution method. So you give your answer in a sentence so that you will have your final answer. So we're going to apply these 4 methods in the following examples. So before we proceed with the examples, please take note that the reference for this lesson is from Mathematics Grade 9 Alternative Delivery Mode, Quarter 1, Module 6, Solving Problems Involving Quadratic Equations and Rational Algebraic Equations, First Edition 2020, written by J.M. Nastor from Schools Division of Bataan. So thank you for this reference. It can help our students. Okay, so let's go over with the first example. Okay, ready? Ready na ha? So we're going to apply the step-by-step process. So example number 1, the title is, what are my dimensions? So television screens are usually measured by the length of its diagonal. So the television set has a 60-inch diagonal and the screen is 12 inches wider than its height. So we are asked to find the dimensions of the screen. So if we are going to draw this, let's say for example, we're going to represent the television here as a rectangular shape. Okay, so this can be a television. Okay, so the television set has a 60-inch diagonal. Okay, so we are talking about the connection between this opposite vertex. So this is 60 inches. And then the screen is 12 inches wider than its height. So the height of the TV, let's say, we represent this as X, and then the width is 12 inches wider than its height. So that will be X plus 12. So X here will be represented as the height of the television. Okay? Nasa ano tayo ha? Step 1 to. This is step 1. Read and understand the problem. Tapos sabi nga, the screen is 12 inches wider than its height. So, we can represent it as X plus 12. So, this will be the width of the television. So, ganyan mag-plan. So, pwede rin nating i-drawing para ma-visualize natin yung itsura. So, we're talking about a television screen here. Tapos, ito yung tinutukoy nating diagonal, which is 60 inches. So, ang hinahanap is the dimension. When we say dimension, we are looking for the height and its width. Okay? So, both the height and the width. Yun yung hinahanap natin. Okay? So, let's go over with devising a plan. Okay, so since we are talking about the diagonal, let's take note again. The diagonal, which is equal to 60 inches, and X, which is the height. This is now step 2. And X plus 12 is our width. So we'll go over now with the concept that we're going to use. We are now going to devise a plan. Let's go back with the illustration. So this is the 60-inch. And then this is x, and this is x plus 12. As we can see here, since this is a rectangle, we can this is a right angle, most probably. So we have a right triangle here, no? So manggagaling tayo sa right triangle. And if you can remember, meron tayong tinatawag na Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem that we can use in this particular example because we are dealing with right triangles. So we formulate an equation using this since Pythagorean theorem is represented as the sum of the square of the two legs. Ito yung legs natin eh. Yung x and x plus 2 is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So ang hypotenuse natin is the longest side. So yung diagonal natin dito na 60 inches, yan yung longest side. So kung pagbabasihan natin itong mga nakuha nating from the problem, mga information from the problem, pwede nating i-substitute yan dito sa Pythagorean theorem natin. So magiging x squared, that is for the height, plus yung width natin, the representation for the width, which is x plus 12, quantity squared, equal to the hypotenuse. We are talking about hypotenuse dito as a formula sa Pythagorean theorem, which is 60 squared. Okay? So, nakapag-formulate na tayo ng equation using the Pythagorean theorem. Kasi nga, meron tayong right triangle. So, let's now have step 3 in which we're going to carry out the plan. So, we are now going to simplify this and write it in the standard form of a quadratic equation. Okay? So, let's deal with this now. We will have x squared, ayan, the square of x, plus, so this is a square of binomial. We can translate it as x squared plus 24x plus 144 equals 60 squared is equivalent to 3,600. And then we simplify. We will have 2x squared, sum of x, 2x squared here, the quadratic terms, plus 24x equal to 3,600 minus 144. Let us simplify this one. Okay, and then we will have 2x squared plus 24x equal to 3,456. And as you can see, we can simplify this by dividing the whole equation by 2 para mas lumiit. And then we could have x squared plus 12x equal to 1,728. Okay, so we could actually apply completing the square here since we could translate it or complete this particular equation on the left side, x squared plus 12x. We're going to write it as a perfect square trinomial. So to do that, going back with the completing the square, we'll get the numerical coefficient of the linear term and then divide it by 2. So that we will get 6, and then we get the square of it, and then we will have 36. So yung 36 na yan yung i-add natin both sides. So kasi nga pwede natin gamitin at mas madaling gamitin dito ang completing the square kasi medyo malaki yung ating constant term. So add natin yung 36 both side of the equation. We will have x squared plus 12x plus 36. So both side yan equal to 1,728 plus 36. Ayan. Kapag okay na, kung matatandaan natin itong x squared plus 12x plus 36 na ito can be now written as a square of binomial as x plus 6 quantity squared equal to 1,764. So that is the sum of 1,728 and 36. And after that, we extract its square root. And then we will have x plus 6 na lang. Matatanggal na yung square. Equal to, get the square root of 1,764. This is a perfect square. That is equivalent to positive and negative 42. Okay, so by that, we could get now the value of x sub 1 and x sub 2. Pwede nating ilipat muna yung 6. So magiging x equal to negative 6 plus and minus 42. Okay, pag okay na yan, pag-iwalayin na natin. X sub 1, gagamitin natin ay addition. So negative 6 plus 42 is equivalent to positive 36. And then yung x sub 2 natin, yung subtraction naman, negative 6 minus 42, that is equivalent to negative 48. So sabi ko kanina, kapag measurement ang pinag-uusapan, we cannot accept a negative solution. So ang tatanggapin nating value ng x is yung positive 36. So therefore, gawin ko lang yung kulay. So therefore, yung height natin is 36. So we're going to use now inches. Because the diagonal is using inches. So yun na yung height natin kasi yun yung value ng x. So yun yung kinuha din nating value ng x dito which is positive 36. Tapos ang width natin is plus 12 lang nung x. So, kung ang x natin ay 36, add lang natin plus 12, we have 48. So, ang width natin ay 48 inches. Okay, so nakuha na natin yung width and the height. So, that is 36 inches by 48 inches. So, paano ba natin yan i-check? For step 4. Okay, let's write step 4 here. So, substitute lang natin dito sa na-formulate natin kanina. Ayan. So, ito na yung ating height. Ito na yung ating width. Substitute na lang. So, we have 36 squared plus 48 squared equal to 60 squared. So, dapat magtali yan. So, ang 36 squared is equivalent to 1,296 plus yung 48 squared naman. Teka, ikulong lang natin. Yung 48 squared naman ay equivalent naman to 2,304. Then yung 60 squared kanina, sabi natin that is 3,600. So when we add 1,296 and 2,304, we will get 3,600. So that is equal to 3,600. So therefore that is correct. Then we will now write our final answer. Okay, so we will write our final answer as a sentence. So therefore, the height of the television, so because we are asked for the dimension, is 36 inches. And the width is 48 inches. Okay, so that's it for what are my dimensions. So the dimension or the width and the length of the television are 36 inches by 48 inches. So that will be our first example. Okay? So pwede nyo yung balik-balikan to study the process. Okay, let's have the next example. Example number 2, be a number bender. Okay, so the problem is the sum of two numbers is 19. The sum of the squares of the numbers is 193. We are asked here to find the two numbers. So let's find the two numbers. First, let us read and understand the problem. So for step 1, we will have to read and understand the problem first. And we're going to devise some representation. So we let a variable for this condition. The sum of two numbers is 19. The sum of the squares of the numbers is 193. Find the two numbers. So let us have first the representation of the two numbers. So if we represent it, let's represent for the first number. One of the number will be x. One of the numbers. Tapos, di ba, parang ang sum nung dalawang number ay 19. So, to do that, we can represent the other number as 19 minus x. Okay? So, this will be the other number. Para pag in-add natin yan, that must be equal to 19, di ba? So, parang pag ang isang number ay 2, halimbawa, tapos ang sum nila ay 5, para makuha natin isang number, 5 minus 2. Di ba? So, ganun natin siya nire-represent. Okay? So, yung x natin is one of the numbers and 19 minus x is the other number. So, that's how we represent it. Tapos, magdi-devise tayo ng plan. Going back, step 2 tayo. Sulat lang natin ulit that x will be the one of the numbers. Tapos 19 minus x is the other number. Ayan. So what we're going to do here, may condition tayo kanina, sabi, the sum of the squares of the numbers is 193. So, kunin lang natin yung sum ng squares nila. So that is x squared plus 19 minus x squared equal to 193. So, ito na yung ating equation. So, pag may equation na, proceed na tayo with step 3. Carry out the plan. So, simplify lang natin yung equation. So, that will be x squared. Tapos, ito, convert lang natin into a perfect square trinomial. So this is now equivalent to the square of 19, which is 361, minus 19 times x times 2 is 38x, plus the square of x, x squared, equal to 193. And then we convert it into standard form. Arrange lang natin. Unahin natin yung mga quadratic terms. X squared plus x squared. Followed by the linear term. Isa lang naman yan. 38x. Tapos the constant terms. 361. And then etong 193 lipat natin to the other side. So that will become negative 193 equal to 0. Simplify lang ulit. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. Copy minus 38x. And then 361 minus 193 is positive 168 equal to 0. And then you can see, pwede natin paliitin para mas madaling masolve later. Lahat yan ay divisible by 2. So we can divide them by 2. So the new equation will become x squared minus 19x plus 168 divided by 2 is 84 equal to 0. So pwede na tayo ngayong gumamit ng factoring equal to 0. So that is x and x. Check natin. So we could use negative 7 and negative 12. Because negative 7 times negative 12 is positive 84. And negative 7 minus 12 is negative 19. Tapos, solve lang natin separately. Okay. So that is through the use of the zero product property. So x minus 7 equal to 0. And x minus 12 equal to 0. So x sub 1 is positive 7 and x sub 2 is positive 12. So the two numbers are positive 7 and 12. So check lang natin kasi sabi kanina sa condition, ang sum ng dalawang number na yan ay 19. Tapos yung product ng the sum ng square nila ay 193. So, step 4 tayo. Look back. Okay, so, sabi natin kanina, no? That is x squared plus 19 minus x squared is equal to 193. Pero meron na tayo ng dalawang number. Papalitan na lang natin yan ng 7 squared plus 12 squared, dapat equal yan sa 193. So, simplify lang natin. 7 squared is 49 plus 12 squared is 144. So, is that equal to 193? Add nyo nga. 49 plus 144 is 193. So, correct. So, therefore, the two, susulat natin lagi yan sa dulo, yung answer, the final answer. The two numbers are 7 and 12. Ayan. Okay? So, that's it for example number 2. Let's have our last example for this lesson. The title of this is, I Want to Be Alone. So, a mason helper requires 4 hours more to pave a concrete walk that it takes the mason. The two worked together for 3 hours. Then, the mason was called away. The helper continued to work and complete the job in 2 hours. How long would it take each to do the same job if they work separately? Okay, so let's do this. Let's have first step 1. Let's go back here. Okay, for step 1, we're going to read and understand the problem. So sabi dito, mag-represent muna tayo ng x. So mas maganda x talaga gamitin. Represent natin yung x as the number of hours it takes the mason to do the job. Okay, so the number of hours it takes the mason to do the job. So let's use the variable x. Tapos, sabi kasi dito, a mason helper, yung helper requires 4 hours more. No, 4 hours more to pave the concrete walk than it takes the mason. So sa helper tayo, so kung yung mason, ito yung representation ng hours niya to do the job. Doon naman sa helper is x plus 4 kasi mas matagal siya ng 4 hours. So ito naman yung the number of hours it takes para naman doon sa helper. Para to sa helper to do the job. Tapos, so we are talking about work here. So parehas lang naman sila nung gagawing job in 1 hour. So we will have part of the job done by the mason in 1 hour. Tapos part of the job done by the helper in 1 hour. So we will represent it as 1 over x. So this is the part of the job done by the mason in 1 hour. Okay? Tapos, 1 over x plus 4 naman, yung part of the job done by the helper naman ito in 1 hour. So from here, the helper continued to work and completed the job in 2 hours. So how long would it take each to do the same job if they work separately? Okay, since the mason worked for 3 hours and the helper worked for 5 hours to complete the job, diba? So we're going to represent it. Let's write it here for step 2. Take note na lang nung kanina. Ayan. Since the mason worked for 3 hours and the helper worked for 5 hours to complete the job, we can write the equation as 3 over x. Ito yung para sa mason plus 5 over x plus 4. Ito naman yung para sa helper equal to 1. Ayan. So, meron na tayo ngayong sample of a rational equation. So, let's get its LCD. So, probably that is x and x plus 4. So, we multiply the whole equation by x and x plus 4, and then we simplify. So we will have x plus 4 divided by x, that is x plus 4, multiplied to the numerator, 3 times x plus 4. And then you copy the addition sign. And then for 5 over x plus 4 naman, x times x plus 4 divided by x plus 4. So, ang matitira is x times 5. That is 5x equal to, so wala naman itong denominator. So, multiply lang natin yung x times x plus 4. So, that is x times x plus 4. Then we simplify using the distributive property. Distribute na lang. This is 3x plus 12 plus 5x equal to this one. We have x squared plus 4x. And then, arrange lang natin. So, dito na lang tayo maglipat to the right para positive yung x squared natin. So, this is x squared plus 4x minus 3x. Nilipat ko. Minus 12 minus 5x equal to 0. So, arrange lang natin. So, magiging x squared. 4x minus 3x is x. Tapos may 5x pa doon. Minus 5x minus 12 equal to 0. Ayan. And then, simplify. X squared minus 4x minus 12 equal to 0. So, pwede na tayo mag-factor dito using the factoring method. So, we have x and x. Step 3 na actually itong ginagawa natin, no? Step 3, sinosolve na natin. Step 2, we have the equation. We have formulated the equation. So, we could have negative 6 and positive 2. Because negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. And negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. And then we solve them separately. X minus 6 equal to 0. And x plus 2 equal to 0. So our x sub 1 here is positive 6. And x sub 2 is negative 2. The thing is, okay, we are talking about time. So we could not accept a negative value here since we are talking about time. So we will accept 6. So, going back with the representation, yung x natin is equal to 6 hours. Ito yung the number of hours it takes the mason to do the job, ha? This is for the mason, ha? Tapos, para makuha naman yung sa helper, that is x plus 4 or 6 plus 4, which is 10 hours. Dito naman ay para sa helper. So, if you look back for step 4, going back with the equation, substitute lang natin. 3 over 6, ito na yon, plus 5 over 10 must be equal to 1. So, simplify nyo to. This is 1 half. Ito, 1 half. 1 half plus 1 half is 1. Equals 1. Okay, correct. So, therefore, conclude na tayo. The mason can do the job alone. Alone yan. In 6 hours, while the helper can do the same job in 10 hours. So, we always write it in sentence form, ha? Yung ating final answer. So, you go over with the other examples from our module and apply our knowledge in transforming equations into quadratic equations, including the rational algebraic equations. Okay, so thank you for listening. See you again on our next video. Again, this is our Phil, and this is our Phil's channel.